guest today is a thrill-seeking adventurist who has been to more countries than you can name. He spent several years as a soldier in Iraq and Afghanistan and has spent his time and money traveling everywhere he could after he left. He backpacked for many months through South America, was kidnapped in Cancun, did ayahuasca 30 times with a shaman, and practiced Buddhism in Nepal for 4 years. We didn't get to everything, so he's coming back in a month or so to finish the story. Here is my friend Shane Bassey.
So I don't know if this kind of spurred the thought, but I suddenly decided to go back to the Amazon to visit my shaman and do ayahuasca again.
Okay, so you weren't going to do that until just recently.
Yes, until yesterday. And I'm leaving tomorrow.
What made you decide? Here, put these on too. What made you decide to do that out of nowhere?
So, when I'm in Nepal, I don't do any drugs.
Okay. You want to throw those on?
Just so you know. Oh. So, when I come to Portland, that's like, should we do the show and talk about it, or should I just...
No, you're good.
Okay.
Just scoot over in front of the mic a little bit. There you go.
Okay.
So you don't do drugs until you're in Portland, and then you do drugs.
Right. It's just a pattern I've had for maybe 20 years of my life now, because I never stay in Portland. So it's kind of like, okay, I can do these drugs, the addiction will set in, and then I'm gone, And that works, Sometimes I go to a rehab facility they have for veterans down in Roseburg, but they closed that. So last night I just thought, I should just go back to the Amazon. And boom, here we go.
So you had a positive experience the first time you went and did ayahuasca, and so that's why you want to go back.
Mm.
It cleansed you?
It did. It's are we on?
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, we started.
Yeah, we're good. We're
shit.
going, dude.
Okay. Did it right. Okay. So did it cleanse me? Oh man, where do I start? That's a little ahead.
Well, that was the challenge I thought about and how to get it going, because dude, I don't know. There's so many things. So
well, it's a story about what led to the ayahuasca was my lifestyle before I got to the ayahuasca, and I didn't even know, when I did get to it, what it was, and it was just a surprise. I lived I guess you could say, a violent life from the age of maybe 18 to 28. So there's like a 10-year period where I was always looking for an adventure and something that had risk. If it didn't have risk, it wasn't an adventure, and it wasn't interesting enough. So
why did that start at 18 though?
Well, okay, so I was driving home from a bar being chased by a Mexican with a giant Rambo Bowie knife, and ran into my house and pulled out a 22 that I had, came outside, and I stared this guy down in the front lawn. And anyway, to make a long story short, the neighbor from across the street came over and he said, "Oh, you know how to use that gun?" and offered me a job guarding one of his properties. Turns out he was a first sergeant in the National Guard here in Portland. And he said that he had this property that he had to kick people out of. He had to evict people, and they were threatening to blow it up. And he wanted to hire somebody to stay there for a few nights. So my friend and I, another crazy, my sidekick, who did all these adventures with me and is now dead. He overdosed on heroin, God rest his soul. And we took the job, and we went over to his house, and he wanted us to stay awake all night, and because that's when he suspected that they were going to come. These guys were tweakers, and yada yada. And so we stayed there. The first night went by pretty peacefully. The second night went by pretty peacefully. On the third night, on the third night, it was about 4:00 in the morning, and I'm sitting down in the backyard my friend Volks is up in the front yard, and a truck pulls up and stops. The guy gets out with a duffel bag, and he walks over to a trailer that belonged to this first sergeant that was next to his house, and they throw the duffel bag at the trailer, and it blows up. Like,
It had a bomb inside it?
I don't know what was inside of it. It was the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life, though, to this day, And I spent a lot of time in places with a lot of noises, and I was pretty close to that, actually. And so I was like, what the fuck? So I charged my 22 and I go running out through the gate and running out to the street, and he's already 100 meters away, and I just start, and I'm just shooting. This is on 13th, not too far from here, actually, just right down the road.
Whoa.
And I'm unloading this whole clip into the back, and I can hear sirens already coming off because the neighbors called because of the bomb, Sirens are coming, and I felt this adrenaline, and I just felt like this. I mean, I knew it right there, that this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. And so
exciting, insane shit.
So the first sergeant comes, and I'm explaining to him, what had happened, giving him the rundown, and he says, you like this kind of stuff? I was like, yeah. He goes, you should join the National Guard. So I joined the National Guard.
And this is when you were 18 years old.
I was 19.
19.
Yeah.
Okay, but I got to go back a little bit. Like, what happened in your childhood and stuff? What did something lead you to that? All of a sudden you're just like wanting to do exciting things.
As a young man, I had always read the most amazing stories that I could find about this is my answer about Marco Polo or King Solomon, or people that gain wisdom or through their adventures, through their experiences, and I was always, from the age of 12, I was always looking forward into my life as if they were a series, as if it was a series of chapters, and I was always trying to find the next cool chapter. And I never really cared about a career or a wife or a house or kids or any of that kind of stuff. And to this day, I don't really have any of that except for the wife. But for me, it's always been about, at the end of my life, how many cool chapters am I going to have in my book?
I can relate to that.
I want to have a book. Yeah, I think a lot of people think this way, But
So what happened when the first sergeant first saw you and the Mexican guy was coming to do something to you? What happened with all that?
So I was at a strip club. It's this real rank, like, hole in the wall kind of on Lombard, with the
What's it called?
With the 60-year-old strippers and Mexicans selling cocaine in the back.
What's it called?
Roosters.
Okay, I haven't been there. I thought it was something else.
I drove by the other day, and they have a different name, so I don't know what the name is now.
Okay, but you're hanging out there, and then what happened?
This Mexican dude starts saying some real nasty stuff to this stripper, who's like a grandma, and I was like, dude, I'm trying to enjoy my grandma stripping. No, I'm just kidding. I was actually playing pool, right? And this guy, I can hear him spitting off this, like, show me your pussy and stuff. And I was like, okay. But he's like saying it like really, like, kind of just like rude, harsh, kind of like, he was really drunk. Mm-hmm. So I said, hey, don't talk to her like that, man. Go sit down over there. Go sit down. And he was like, you talking to me? I swear this guy watches movies, because he's just like, everything he said was just stereotypical.
Just playing it up.
Yeah, he's just like, you talking to me, is he? And I was like, yeah, I'm talking to you. So immediately he comes running over. I was just like, holy shit, I just swing, and we just start swinging, and we're wrestling, and my buddy comes over and pulls him off of me, and we separate. We decide to leave. I go out to my car. And, before cops come. And this guy suddenly appears out of nowhere with a huge knife. It looks like a Nepali kukri. You know a kukri? Mm-mm. It's huge blade. And I was just like, that got my attention. I looked over, and I was like, whoa, shit. And I jumped in the car and took off. And he jumped in his car and followed. So we were going through red lights and hopping over mediums. And you know. Excuse me. Yeah. So.
But when you go back to your house and you pulled the gun out, what happened at that point?
I drive in the driveway, hit my brakes. I jump out, pop the trunk, pull out 22, you know, and he hops out of the car and he's like, oh, are you going to shoot me? He like gets into execution. He's drunk. He gets into execution like on his knees like this. And he's like, I knew it would come to this someday and stuff. So I actually, when he first got out of the car, I shot like 3 shots into the ground to scare him, you know. And that was what caused him to drop down and do this thing. And it's just like within a flash, it just felt like there was just like an infinite number of cop cars. Just the lights, I could hear dogs barking. And they're like, put down the gun, you know. And I'm thinking about like what I've seen in movies. So I was like opened the charge, pulled the charging arm back, you know, and so that you can see that it's empty, and I just held it up like this. But the cops, they're just like, put that fucking thing down, you know?
Yeah.
So it was pretty close because, like, they could have shot me. I was walking towards them with it. I just assumed, you know, it's really strange, and I don't want to give the other side material to use, but they didn't hardly ask me any questions at all, and my brother-in-law was there, who's Mexican, at the house. He wasn't with me throughout the ordeal. But he came out, and I looked over, and my brother-in-law was in cuffs next to the Mexican that chased me from the bar.
Because they thought he was with the guy?
Yeah. So they're like, all right, we got the Mexicans out. And I was like, no, that's my brother-in-law. He's cool. I was like, this guy here is, you know, he followed me home from the strip club. So you know, I was kind of, you know, always looking for this kind of, always looking for a crazy story, for, you know.
So you joined the National Guard.
Yeah, so the National Guard, I probably would have been better off joining the Marines if I was looking for that kind of an experience. But the National Guard, when I found out that it was only 1 week in a month, that's my kind of deal. I was like, 1 week in a month, really? So you go there for 1 week and 2 days of every month, and then they send you money, and you get college, and you get all these other things, and healthcare, and all this. I was like, all right, sign me up.
Yeah, I thought the National Guard was something that people who had been in the military and did a tour came back, and then they joined it. I didn't know they just took regular people straight off the street.
You can do it that way.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, sure. But I went to a recruiter's office. I wasn't taken directly off the street. I went to a recruiter's office, and then I went through the same process that described to you with the reception. You know, you go through reception, and then you go to boot camp and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So
what year was this?
2003.
Okay. And so did you go to Iraq?
I did. I was there
for the invasion.
No, not during the invasion. I was with the unit that came out of Idaho. The Dalles unit was attached to them as well, and they actually took over. I think we took over security operations in Kirkuk for, I think it was the 101st, which is crazy because the National Guard before that made baskets. And, you know, George Bush changed how the National Guard is used, and we're no longer making baskets and stopping floods from, you know, coming into the city.
Because of 2003 in Iraq, just because they needed more people?
And I thought about that the other day because there was 1 million people in the Army at that time. So, but they were trying to keep 144,000, 150,000 people, soldiers, Army soldiers anyways. No, that was the total for military personnel in Iraq. So I don't understand. I think they just wanted to make it easier on the regular Army.
So what was your job when you were over there?
I wouldn't know. I don't know anything. They don't ask me about policy when they make it. So, but my job,
yeah,
I got lucky. I signed up when I took the test. The recruiter was like, "Congratulations, you can be a mechanic," and I was like, "I don't want to be a fucking mechanic." And he was like, "Well, the test says that's where you'll really excel," and I was like, "Really? I'll excel at that?" And I was like, "Yeah, your math score is pretty high." And I was like, "No shit." I was like, "All right." So, I mean, these guys, they know how to shoot shit up your ass, you know. They'll tell you whatever you want to hear, you know, so that they can get paid. So, did you get it?
No,
it's a
still flying around.
fruit fly. Yeah. So, I ended up being a mechanic. But in Iraq, I ended up getting this really sweet job working for the captain. So I don't take orders very well. And I didn't really know that about myself until I was in boot camp, and I had this really scary black female drill sergeant yelling at me, and I was just like, "Who the fuck are you talking to?" You know. But I ended up actually learning how to manage authority better when I was in. But because of this disability or inability to take orders from people, I was put in a special area in a container office with another guy that the rest of them didn't want to be around. And he was a captain, and he liked to control things, and the sergeants didn't like that. And but he was a captain, so he's supposed to control things. But they managed to get him in a little box all alone over there, and me in a little box with him over there. And so my job in Iraq was actually, I had several different things, but my main job was to assist the captain. I was officially the captain's driver because officers can't drive in the military because snipers will shoot them. They shoot the drivers when they try to stop a vehicle. They shoot at the driver's seat.
Okay.
So the officers need to be not in the driver's seat.
Okay, so you were...
That's what I was told.
You passed the test and you had high math scores, so they said that you should become a mechanic. Did you actually do anything on a vehicle?
Yeah.
Did you... I mean, that seems weird. They just say now you're in charge of fixing the engine on SUVs or something.
Well, they have... It's actually organized pretty well. So you have like... And actually, it's not really based entirely on rank. The more skilled mechanics, they're there, and they have, you know, your rookies are underneath them. I actually can't remember all that stuff. Am I stuttering?
No, you're doing fine.
I told you I was high, right?
Oh, it's all good.
Okay, I'm really high.
So you just started by like changing the oil or like cleaning the seats or something, and then they thought eventually you would figure out.
There's first level 1, level 2, level 3. I love how you're interested in those little things.
Well,
I know when you're doing other interviews, you'll go into that, and I'm like, why is he digging into that?
Because it seems weird.
Well, yeah. So there's level 1, level 2, level 3 maintenance, and we were level 1. Uh-huh. So you're just servicing vehicles, changing the oil and changing the tires, and checking the transmission fluid and stuff. It's Jiffy Lube. We were Jiffy Lube.
Okay.
And so there's other levels as you go up.
Okay.
And I did progress into, eventually I wasn't the captain's driver anymore. Eventually I was a real mechanic, and I was changing entire engines and transmissions and whole body wiring harnesses all single-handedly.
So that's cool, but then they put you in, like you said, as the captain's driver, and you said that's the position that they're trying to kill. So that's not really a promotion, is it?
Shit, I never thought about that.
now they're trying to kill you even harder than they were before.
Right. I didn't think about that. So, but yeah, no, it's all right. That's what I signed up for,
So when you're driving the captain around, were you in intense areas where people were firing at you?
I don't think he left the base one time.
One time?
I don't think he did even once.
See,
but I did go out on several missions, though, myself.
Okay.
You don't have to go anywhere in Iraq to be shot at. Everybody's shot at. Even if you're in the base, you're shot at. Because we have so much shit. These bases, we take over the airports that are already there, Iraqi airports, international airports. We take them over, build a fence all the way around it, and then we turn it into our little city.
Yeah. With
pizza shops and everything, internet and movie theaters and stuff, all that. You got Filipino massage girls coming from the Philippines and, doing their...
You got to make the boys feel at home.
Yeah, sure. I know, I'm all for it. But it's funny. You eventually forget that you're there because you're just used to it,
Mm-hmm.
So...
But you are craving the excitement of it all. And so did you get to go out and do things?
Yeah. So I got to go out on a couple missions with the Scouts, and which nothing happened. It was just like...
What does scout mean?
A scout is an infantry person that goes on missions ahead of the rest of the troop in order to see what the terrain is, what the enemy's position is, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
So they're sending you out to check things out, but all the while, aren't you thinking somebody's going to shoot me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
And I'm kind of hoping it's going to happen, actually, because you want a good story, right?
Yeah, well, I mean,
you go to Iraq and you sit inside this fence and these ancient rockets. They're not even rockets. They're homemade pieces of shit that land. They don't really hit much. Just scares people, and you're just sitting there sucking your thumb and watching DVDs, because there's nothing else to do. So I'm out there. You're kind of hoping that there's something exciting is going to happen. A part of you has to, I think everybody, there's a part of you that wants there to be some action. I mean, you join the military. I volunteered to go to Iraq. I wasn't forced to. I went from Portland to a unit that was in Idaho. I didn't know any of those people. I was looking for something. But in Iraq, I can't say that nothing super violent and happened really. There was one IED, which means improvised explosive device. Mm-hmm. Civilians, the media call it roadside bombs, they call it. And so there was a roadside bomb that was detonated a little ahead of where my Humvee was, and I just felt the rocks land. It was loud, and then the rocks landed. It wasn't like...
It wasn't like the duffel bag.
No. When I was in Afghanistan, there was a roadside bomb that took out the front tires and poked 20 holes through the radiator in my Humvee, and that was close. That was super close.
While you were driving?
No, I was in the backseat. Okay.
So your experience there wasn't quite as dangerous as you thought it would be, or as you wanted it to be. And
not as I wish I would have been infantry. It's a regret. One regret that I have. I don't have a lot of regrets in life, but that.
Yeah, but I mean, didn't you know people that were in infantry and they would go out on missions and not come back? And you're like, oh shit, that guy's gone.
I don't think that we had a single person die out of the 2,000 soldiers that I went with. Huh. So it sucks because some people, depending where you were at on the base, got shot at a lot more, right? So like what's his name?
I'm going to beep it anyways. That's okay.
So my friend, he was on the other side, which was where all of it's called the talk. They have all of like the high-ranking officers and stuff, and all the information goes through there. I mean, it's the head of what the bad guys would call the head of the snake. But, it's like so that's where they fired at the most probably. But in that situation, you do get a lot of rockets and mortars. Some people get random sniper fire from off in the distance, and I guess since I lived there for 3 years.
3 years?
Well, Iraq 1 and Afghanistan 2 years.
Jesus Christ.
So I think if you were to see if I just appeared suddenly on a base in Iraq and there was rockets coming in, I would be like, where's the McDonald's? But if you take a normal person and they just suddenly appeared on that base and rockets were coming, they'd be like, oh my God, it's World War II. I've been desensitized to a lot of it, but.
Okay, so what changed between Shane then and Shane after 3 years in the military?
Okay, so I did the Afghanistan thing. Same story as Iraq. There's really not much of a difference, except for I was more involved in the actual work and or the labor work. But I came back from Afghanistan, and I was back in Portland, doing my thing, running around and, looking for adventures in Portland. And there's a couple other things that I should mention, but I can't remember.
About Afghanistan?
No, it's when I came back.
Dude, this fruit fly.
Ah, yes, that's right. I moved to Mexico. So I moved to Cancun and took my friend, my buddy, that was always doing the adventures with me, the one that overdosed and died, and Stephen Matthew Brian Boakes was his name. And we're in Cancun, Mexico, and we get this really cheap apartment. So at that time, I had just started receiving this disability check for post-traumatic stress disorder, and which I get because when the 4th of July is happening, I'm in the fetal position like this. No, please stop. So, and that's real.
Okay, but wait a minute. That conflicts with what you just said, because you said you were desensitized to all of the bombs going off and everything. You're saying that it is...
I agree with you. That does sound contradicting. So I can't explain that. What I meant to say was that what violence and like traumatic experiences to me are kind of normal. I'm still going to have the same kind of symptoms, even though I feel like I'm a tough guy. I'm still going to have the same kind of symptoms. I can't get away from that because your brain does it for you. Programs you to react a certain way.
So you spent a year in Iraq. You spent 2 in Afghanistan. You came back. Mm-hmm. You were diagnosed with PTSD
mm-hmm. and a brain injury. TBI.
What happened to the brain?
The bomb in the roadside bomb in Afghanistan.
Okay. So you kind of downplayed that. That was a big deal.
I downplayed it. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did. I realized that. I apologize.
No, it's all good. I'm just trying to make it make sense.
Well, I wanted to make sense too. So,
So what happened with that? You're just driving. Yeah. You're in the back seat. Mm-hmm. It was something in the ground, or somebody shot a mortar at you?
No, it was a roadside bomb. Improvised explosive device, IED. Okay. So I was moving from Kandahar to Fob Tillman, which was named after the NFL player that quit the NFL and volunteered to go to Afghanistan and then got shot and died.
Okay.
And I was on the way there, and just standard, what they do is when we're in a convoy going somewhere, they're waiting for us. And they got the bomb in the ground, and it's disguised. You can't tell it's in there. And they're just waiting, and they got their phone, They just got to call a number, and it will ring at that phone that the bomb's attached to and then blow up. So they just watch, and they're waiting. And they got people down the road, too, that will call and say they're on their way.
And so you drive on a road. Why not drive off the road? It seems like they would put the bombs on the road, right?
Well, I mean, there's fences and ditches and people's gardens and farms and stuff,
Okay.
I mean, we could. The people wouldn't be happy about that probably, but...
Okay, so you're driving down the road, somebody calls the phone, and it detonates the bomb.
Yeah, this is how it happens every time. So, I mean, there's different variations of that, but that's basically how it happens. There's a detonator, and there's someone watching to detonate it, and there's somebody up ahead, mile away, that's going to warn him that the army's on their way down.
Okay.
And so it was a small convoy. I think it was like 4 or 5 vehicles, and there's like one of them was a truck, and there was, with people in it, other contractors. So my vehicle was the first. I was in a Humvee, and it was the first one. That's pretty crazy. Excuse me. Can I hear my burping? Sorry about that.
It's all good.
Dehydrated.
There's more in there if you want one.
Yeah, I'll grab one in a second. I tried to be sober for this.
It's all right.
Okay. So it was pretty crazy, actually. I had a GPS. I even marked the grid coordinates where it happened because I was so just amazed by what had just happened. So it goes off. When it goes off, we actually go down into the hole that it made. because when the bomb exploded, it made this crater that you might see on a moon somewhere, and we actually in and out of it, and then the whole convoy kept going forward for maybe a quarter mile or something, and then we stopped because our vehicle couldn't go anymore.
Because you're worried at that point you're going to get ambushed.
We couldn't drive anymore because the radiator had holes going through it.
Yeah.
And we also expect that gunfire will follow that bomb, which often it does. So they want the convoy to be forced to stop so that they can unload all their guns and then run away. It's guerrilla warfare. It's what will happen probably in America someday. So everybody stops a quarter mile past the bomb, and we jump out of our vehicles. The army, the soldiers that we're with, they do like a perimeter, but they do like this kind of half-assed lazy perimeter. They're just like, we're getting used to this now, I think it was the 82nd Airborne Division that I was with.
Those fucking guys.
Yeah. Those guys are serious guys, So, so they get out, and I just immediately start taking pictures, pictures of everything I can take pictures of. I'm not even thinking about I'm in Afghanistan. I'm just thinking I got to take pictures, as many pictures as I can, So I just started taking pictures of everything, and then suddenly a helicopter arrived and started circling around us, as U.S. helicopter, and then another one, which was higher than that and going in a bigger circle, was going around, and then the Iraqi army comes plowing through, and they shut off the traffic coming towards us. And then another unit from the U.S. Army comes in and shuts down the traffic from behind us. And then the Iraqi police show up. It's a whole big show. It's quite the show. It's got to be a roadside bomb. The whole thing must cost millions of dollars just for one,
But you're saying at that point in time, you didn't really realize how detrimental it was going to be to your mental health.
I did not. No.
And it just kind of stuck with you.
Yeah. Well, you actually don't really notice things because you're not looking for them. But eventually I left Afghanistan. I came home and I was living in Cancún, Mexico. And I'm driving down the street, and this is when it first starts. And I see this mattress right in the center of an intersection in a neighborhood. And of course, Mexico, remember, is a third world country, so there's a lot of similarities between like the structures of homes and stuff, and like that you would see in Iraq or Afghanistan. There's a lot of like the developing countries; they all have these, these similarities. So that may have triggered that. But I saw this mattress, and I was just like, spun around, in this little '89 Chevy Sprint that I bought for $200 and drove all the way down there from Portland, and then the noises slowly, eventually, sudden noises, any kind of sudden noise that's any kind of boom or explosion or stuff would cause me to act totally irrationally.
So what does it do? Does it trick your brain into thinking you're back there?
It can, and people experience flashbacks. I never had that, so I don't know what that's like. But I guess your brain has decided, that it wants to survive, so it's going to categorize all these other things as being equally dangerous, just in case. So, I don't know, but that was the first time actually.
So when that happened in Cancun, you realized that there was an issue.
Because you see in Iraq and Afghanistan, they'll put an IED, a bomb, in the mattress and put it in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
And you can't tell the difference because you just drove by a bunch of other garbage, So when you see the mattress, you're just like, oh, there's another mattress, and then boom.
Yeah.
Right? So I just started like going way into it. Like I'd be like, all right, this area is safe. That area is not safe. That could be a bomb. That trash can could be a bomb. I don't know. I'm doing a little bit of cocaine at the time. So that may have a
little bit
not helped. Yeah. I was actually selling cocaine, marijuana and cocaine. And I don't use cocaine myself. But Cancun is a huge spring break city. And they have waves of spring break because Europe and Australia and the U.S., like they all have spring break at different times. right? So from March, April, May, there's people coming in constantly. And during that time, you can make money real quick. So I was broke. I mean, I had $300 a month for PTSD that I was getting from the VA. And that paid for my rent and my food. But when I needed money, one day I just went, wait a minute. I buy this bag that's worth $20 in the US for $4 here, $3 or $4 here. Why don't I just buy 10 of them, go down to the hotel zone where all the clubs are, and see if I can sling some? And I did, and I made like $200 right quick, you know? And then so I started doing that more and more. And people started asking for other things, you know? And so I started bringing other stuff. And it was a cush job. I was really popular with all the local
How long were you
club
there?
people. The club owners were like, can you come to my club, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there for 6 months. Yeah, 6 crazy months. And my friend Vokes, my buddy, he was there with me, and we were doing a lot of this together. He ended up marrying a girl, and he had to smuggle her into the U.S. By hiking across the desert out of Mexico into Texas.
Why do you have to smuggle her if he was married to her? Shouldn't she have become a citizen at that point?
I never thought about it. Oh, okay. Well, for one, he was in Mexico illegally.
Okay.
So that may have caused problems for the marriage process.
Okay.
And he was there illegally because he overstayed his visa.
Okay. And this was a guy that you were in Iraq or Afghanistan with?
No.
Or just your friend?
He was in the National Guard, but we didn't serve in theater together.
Okay.
He was just like me in many ways, you know, always looking for an adventure, and that was, he thought, you know, he might be able to find some, you know, through the National Guard, I guess. So we went down to Cancun, and we were living it up down in Cancun, and until we ran into La Familia. Have you heard of these guys?
Sounds familiar.
La Familia drug cartel runs drugs from between Colombia and Mexico all over Central America, and right now they're sending drugs in semi-trucks across the border of Mexico, tons and tons of fentanyl pills, and the U.S. government is not stopping them. Mm-hmm. And it's just coming in like just crazy. And they got a new policy as of last year. If they find the drugs in the truck, they won't you know, charge the driver anymore. So it's just getting worse. But anyways, so I'm doing my usual, and I'm at this club, and this guy comes up to me, and he's speaking to me in Spanish. So I speak Spanish fluently, and I was, you know, telling him, I was like, hey, you want to buy some weed? And he goes, yeah, I want to buy some weed, man. I was like, all right, well, how much do you want? He goes, how much do you got? I was like, well, I can get as much as you want. And he goes, well, I want as much as you can give me. And I was like, well, holy shit, this is going to be a good night for me. I was really happy. Like, you know, like my eyes opened up. I suddenly got this energy, and I was like, come on, let's go. We're walking down the street, and he goes, I want every bag you have. And I was like, I'm going to give you every bag I have, man. It was like this, we had this like foreplay of drug dealing happening as we're walking towards my car. And I'm thinking this is going to, you know, set me up for a couple of weeks. I won't have to work anymore. And then this car pulls up, and 4 or 5 guys get out of the car, and they start walking towards us, except for they're looking like behind us, nonchalantly kind of. And as soon as they get behind us, they grab me. And they're like, one guy's got my shirt, another guy's holding my arm, another guy's holding, and they're just like, and so I'm just like, Hurrah! And I just start like punching this guy in the head. I don't know what's happening. I have no idea what's happening, except for the fact that I'm being abducted by these guys. And I'm punching this guy, and they dragged me over to the car and shoved me into the trunk. And, they pistol whipped me first, knocked me out, unconscious. Right. So then they put me in the trunk. And so then I come to in the trunk, and I have no memory of being knocked out or even being in Mexico. I wake up in the trunk, and I have this perfect peace like this. I'm like, oh man, what a good day. Clunk, clunk, clunk. I was like, wait a minute. I'm in a trunk of a car in Mexico, and my memory came back, and I was like, oh my God, they're going to kill me. This was when the drug war was really hot. Like 1,000 people a month were dying in Mexico.
It's still hot.
Right. This is just after it just got. Well, I guess it's been that way for a while. Yeah. So they drive out to a Walmart. They go behind another. There's a building next to the Walmart, and they go behind that old building.
Yeah. But you're in the back of a trunk with no idea where you're going for how long?
They drove me around for a little while, and they're talking to people. I can hear them. I'm banging on the trunk, and they're not saying anything.
But you speak Spanish, so you could hear what they're saying when they did say something.
I can hear them, but there's nothing. They're like not acknowledging that like I'm even a part of what's happening. They're just like stopping. I can hear them talking to people, and I thought that they were talking to cops. It sounded like. And I don't know if you know, but the drug cartels and the police are like best friends. So, yeah, just like in the movies. And so I'm banging. I'm expecting someone to open it and be like, point a gun at me or something, but they're just like out there. They're like, yeah, we got this gringo. And, it's like, I'm like, yeah, but, are you going to, what's going to happen? And what do they want with me? Surely it can't be because of the weed, right? I mean, it's a small amount of weed, I mean, the cartels are making billions of dollars nowadays, so, and who am I? I didn't think that it was a problem, but we end up behind this building. They pull me out and cuff me with police like grade handcuffs. Right. So I'm cuffed like this, and they put me down on my knees. Right. And this guy comes up to me, pulls the gun, and he says, "Where are you from?" And all my information's in my car, and they don't know where the car is. So everything's in my car. All they have is what in my clothes. And so I was like, "I'm from Canada." I just started making up shit. And he goes, "This area belongs to us, and you can't come down here and sell drugs and blah, 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 this whole thing." And then this car pulls up, and this car is like really clean, and it has like these really nice, what are they called? Hubcaps, like there's really nice tires, and it looks like it doesn't belong in that place. And I'm thinking like, this guy gets out, right?
It's Pablo.
Right. This guy gets out, and he's got like, it's 3:00 in the morning, and this guy's wearing a suit. And I was like, what the fuck? He comes walking over, and they say some things back and forth, and he looks at me, and he gets back in his car and drives away. And the guy goes, "We have to kill you now." I was like, no. I was like, "Por favor, no me maten, tengo hijos," which is, please don't kill me. I have children. And I start crying. I'm just crying, and I'm begging them for my life. Please, please. And they proceed to beat the shit out of me. And just, there's like 6 or 7 guys, boots, fists, and there was like a stick in there at some point, just beating the shit out of me, and I couldn't see anymore. My jaw was all fucked up. I broke 6 ribs, and suddenly everybody's gone. I'm like blood and tears, and I'm looking around, and I'm naked. They took off all my clothes, my underwear, everything. So
they had to beat you up while you were naked?
I can't remember I can't remember if they took the clothes off afterwards or before, but it was a mess. I was just like, so all of a sudden I get this adrenaline, like, holy shit, So I go, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, but I go right back to where they found me, and I was like, "Where's La Familia?" I'm high, and I'm adrenaline,
and you're still naked.
I'm naked, yeah. I'm like, "Where are they at?" And this police officer comes over, and he's like, "Where's your clothes?" And I was like, "Your country took my clothes." So, so that was the last day that I ever sold drugs. I never sold a single drug ever since. So,
so how long did you stay there after that? Weren't you scared they're going to come back and find you and kill you?
I stayed there for another 2 months, but I didn't go back into that area.
This is in the touristy part of Cancun.
I didn't go to the tourist area again after that.
Okay.
No.
I just went there for the first time in January.
Oh,
and so
okay.
I have like this perfect mental
Yeah.
picture of it.
Great. That
Yeah.
that area, where you have that long, it's all the hotels are on the beach there, and then you go to the kind of like the middle of it, and they have all the clubs are in that one area.
Yep.
And you could walk from your hotel to the club areas on that nice little walkway. That's where I sold
That was
my
you.
stuff right there. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So, and then after a couple weeks after that, I learned that they caught a guy from New York and killed him for doing the same thing that I did. So
That's so insane they didn't kill you.
it is. It is.
They could have.
That's
coulda-
the closest I've been to death, next to the roadside bomb in Afghanistan.
Yeah, man. They could have just thrown you in the pig or the pen with the pigs, or dumped you in the ocean or wherever.
Yeah. Would have made a better story too.
Well,
No, I'm just kidding.
they would be telling the story.
Yeah, they would be telling the story. So, I think at that point there was a turning point there. I became I was exhausted because my brain was overworking itself. I was constantly worrying about the things that my brain thought would happen again from Iraq and Afghanistan, and now I have this new stuff. Now I'm afraid of if there's five brown guys come walking towards me and I'm in a foreign country, I'm a little nervous. Just your brain does this to you, and that's what it is. But that's what PTSD is. So,
Well, it's also life experience and then stereotypes. And I mean, that's a rational thing to be scared of if it happened to you.
Yeah. Of course, totally. So that was. I ended up leaving Cancun and going in. Did you go to Chichen Itza? Did you see the pyramid?
No, I went to the place where you can go snorkeling. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, there's a lot of those. There's a Cozumel or Tulum. There's many of them.
I can't remember
Isla
what
de Mujeres. There's so many.
It's south.
Snorkeling.
It's like an hour away
there's
south.
100 snorkeling places in that part of the world.
It's really cool down there.
It is. Yeah, I like it. I love it, actually.
I don't know why America doesn't just buy Mexico and
Well,
commercialize it.
yeah. Pretty girls down there. Well,
No, it's a beautiful area, but there's a lot of problems. And if you're trying to sell some weed in a club in Cancun, you might get fucked up.
you definitely are going to get fucked up if you do it long enough, because you will get caught eventually. And the cartels, they are the law. They are the law.
Yeah, for sure.
So I had this thing where I was starting to think that, maybe I should try to find something different. I should continue going on adventures, but not the dangerous ones. So I went to this little farm near Chichen Itza, and I worked there for a couple months, just doing just repeating the same things that farmers do every day. And then I got really tired of that after a couple of months. And my sister came to visit me, and my mom came to visit me. Cool thing about my mom, no matter where I am in the world, except for Iraq, she comes to visit me there. So then I go home back to Portland, and I went to Denver, actually. Denver, Colorado. I got an apartment and twiddled my thumbs for about 6 months. I wasn't sure what to do. And I got a world map from offline. I found a map that was just enormous. I put it on the wall, and I had thought up till then, and even till now, I had always thought of myself as like a world-class traveler. I travel a shitload, and I go to places that nobody goes, and I go to a lot of places. And when I meet other travelers, my first question is, "How many countries have you been to?" Because I want to have gone to more. So I put tacks on every place that I had been in the world on this map. And after I did that, I realized that I had not been to many places. I thought I had, but I hadn't. And I realized, oh my gosh, like all of South America's empty, all of Africa's empty, like Australia and all of Asia. It's like I've been to like Europe and the Middle East, and my ego was deceiving me. So I was like, I got to do some work here, and I sobered up and I got my shit in order, And I bought this 1989 Chevy Sprint, and I aimed for the southernmost tip of Argentina, a little town called Ushuaia, Argentina.
How do you have money to do all this stuff?
So once I got that $300 disability check from the VA, I decided that I would make it my main priority to increase that to as much as I possibly can so that I could continue doing my thing, which is really cool adventures.
So you're saying you get the maximum amount from the VA?
Well, actually, there's not a maximum amount. People think that there is, including veterans. Don't be deceived. You can get, where's the camera? You can get more. I get about $5,000 a month.
$5,000 a month?
Tax-free. Yeah.
For, like, how? What do you say? You say that you have mental disabilities and you need help? Like, what do you do?
Well, in the beginning, I took a test.
And they thought you were awesome at math.
I went through some therapy. No, that's a different one. There's the hospital. VA hospital is what I'm talking about, not the... It felt like a lot, but the prices have gone up a lot in Portland, so that's actually not that much now. 5 years ago, $5,000 I think would be like, wow, that's pretty good. But now it's like, well, okay, $2,000 for rent. So, but I live in Nepal, where it costs $200 to live. You know?
Yeah, and so the government will cut you a check while you're living in Nepal, and it costs you 9 cents to rent a place.
Yeah, they take it's the TBI. See, I got a disability rating for PTSD, and I have one also for TBI. And because they are convinced that I started abusing drugs in order to cope with the PTSD symptoms, they also gave me a disability rating for drug and polysubstance abuse. So I have all these different...
Maybe that is why you do drugs.
Could be.
Could be.
So it stacks up. There's many people like this, many soldiers like this. I think there's like 20% of us are doing this.
Yeah, I mean, what's the suicide rate of somebody who's been in combat? It's high.
It is. And also they come back and be violent.
Yeah.
One of my buddies came back, tried to go shoot somebody. The guy shot him. That was Justin Barklow, Sergeant Barklow. And another guy came home. Actually, a dozen guys came home and killed themselves right away. Mm-hmm. After a couple of years, not right away. See, the PTSD for some reason doesn't show up for about 2 years. And it's true. It really, the PTSD, for some reason, it takes 2 years, just about 2 years before you start to experience it. Like the symptoms, you know. And then it starts to actually get in the way of doing things.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that you accept money from the government for what you sacrificed yourself for in order to live now because you can't do a regular job?
Sacrificed?
You sacrificed your life and your well-being and your mental... You want another one?
Yeah, can I grab one?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
No, what I'm saying is like...
Yes, sacrifice, yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean,
definitely.
That's what it is, right?
It is. I don't think that I did that much, honestly.
Yeah, but dude, you spent 3 years of your life.
I volunteered to go. I was paid while I went. I don't think that actually veterans should get that much money now that I think about it, because it's beyond that. I racked up $80,000 at the university in foreign countries, and they paid for it. And healthcare, and my wife is going to school now. They're paying for it because I'm a veteran, disabled veteran. So it's really a lot. You can't. There's no other job that gives those kinds of benefits. Not the postman or the.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't really put a price on that. I mean, that could affect you for the rest of your life. You know.
Yeah, you're right. Now that I think about it, they owe me. You know?
I'm just saying, like, because, you could argue either side.
But you made a good point, though. See, the brain injury thing is subtle, but it really gets in the way of if somebody gives me a list with 20 things to do on it today, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And there's reasons for that. And they have me convinced that I do have a TBI. I don't think I do, actually.
So what's TBI?
Traumatic brain injury.
Okay.
From the roadside bomb in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And which I was not a soldier at the time. So I don't know how they figured that, but whatever. I don't know how they make those decisions. Really.
Okay. So you're getting money from the government due to the fact that you risked your life in a foreign country for
I do love my country.
Yeah, I'm not saying you don't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So that's how you financed your trip. You decided that you wanted to go to the tip of Argentina. You bought the 89 Chevy Sprint.
Yeah. From my father for $200. And at the time, I didn't have that much money, but it was like $1,000 a month at that time or something.
Okay.
I was living pretty cheaply for that 2-year period. It was a 2-year period. I spent 2 years. Wait, you confused me. The Chevy Sprint. No, I drove the Chevy Sprint down from Portland to
Mexico. Okay, that's what I thought you said. But when you were just
then
talking
I went
about
from Mexico to Denver.
Yeah.
Then in Denver, I had the map, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I need to travel." So then I got a backpack, and I went by bus, overland, in many different forms from Portland to Ushuaia, Argentina, except for the Panama Canal, where there is no road, and I had to take a boat.
There's no road?
There's no road. You've heard of the Pan American Highway?
I've heard of the Panama Canal.
Yeah, okay.
You can cross that, can't you? Doesn't it close?
Yeah, you sure can, yeah.
But you can't, you're saying you have to walk it. You can't take a bus.
It's there's an area in the southern part of Panama near the Colombia border that's called the Darien Gap. And it's controlled by drug cartels. And it's very dangerous for anybody to go there. I almost attempted it while I was there with another crazy guy that I found that was really awesome, but we decided not to do it because it was monsoon season and there's no roads, so you're on trails that the locals have made, and we thought maybe it wasn't a good time, and also I was stoned. I was lazy, but I should have done that. That would have been an awesome story. I'm sure we would have got kidnapped or something cool.
Well, if I remember right, the Panama Canal was facilitated by, I think it was Teddy Roosevelt in like 1903, I want to say, because before then, if you wanted to get around, you had to go all the way to the bottom of South America. And so America saw an opportunity to get their ships through quicker, and I think it was Roosevelt who made that path happen. And so then
it was Roosevelt, yeah. I think McKinley actually was the first president to voice an interest in that.
Okay. But then we had some sort of vested interest in that country.
For military purposes.
Yeah, and so you're saying now it's the cartels that run it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just Google Darien Gap.
Okay.
Yeah. So in the Darien Gap, you have several different people. You have the drug cartels, you have the militias, which look like the army, but they're not the army, and then you have the army from Panama, and then you also have groups coming in from Colombia. It's a shit show.
You're saying all these dudes are standing around with guns.
Do not go to the Darien Gap.
Okay.
It's a dangerous place. If I'm not going to go, it's bad.
Yeah. So you got down there, and how did you get across then?
So as I'm going down there, yeah. So they have ferries. You can fly or you can take a ferry, and you put your car on the ferry too. But I didn't have a car at the time. But so you take a boat around to this port in Colombia, and you're there.
Colombia sounds dangerous as fuck.
Colombia is not as dangerous in my experience, but it's definitely one of those places where there are certain areas that you don't want to go. There's 3 different regions that are in different parts of Colombia that you don't want to go because they make money by holding people ransom.
Well, that's also where a majority of the cocaine comes from,
yeah.
Isn't it? Right? All I can think of is Pablo Escobar when I think of Colombia.
That's Medellin, and where he was from. that city is beautiful, but that's also, there's a lot of drugs in Medellin. I mean, in the streets, it's everywhere. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Colombia is one of the coolest countries I've been to. I've been to about 50 countries, depending on how you define a country. But, you know, because like some people say Palestine's not a country, you know. So, which I have been to Palestine, and that's kind of a crazy place too. But Colombia, in my opinion, is one of the most beautiful and most interesting places on the planet. Out of all the places that I've been, that's like my number 1, 2, or 3. I can't figure it out, but it's just a gorgeous. It's just a. I love Colombia. Out of all of the countries that I went to in Latin America, that's the best one.
Well, it probably helped that you could speak Spanish fluently, right?
Of course.
Okay, because were you ever scared?
Especially
after what happened in Cancun, weren't you worried?
Yes. Weren't
you worried you're going to get kidnapped and cuffed again?
Oh yeah, and this whole 2-year trip, you know, I should say that when I started this trip down, trying to get to the southern tip of South America, I was looking for something spiritual, and I was a total atheist and didn't believe in anything at all, and I wouldn't, at that time when I started it, I would not have described it as I'm looking for something spiritual, but I was looking for something that could, you know, because they say when you make that trip all the way down to Ushuaia, and once you get there, people are changed by that trip, right? And so I did that whole trip, and eventually I got down to Ushuaia, and I walked up these big steps to see the Southern Sea, and I was like, you know, looking for the thing that was going to happen, and nothing happened. Yeah. So...
Well, that's why they say it's more about the journey than the destination, right?
But this whole 2 years that I was in South America, you know, I was not trying to engage in like dangerous things. I wasn't carrying any kind of weapons. I wasn't doing hard drugs. I wasn't doing nothing like that. I was I was taking classes at universities or just random places. Like they have like these occultic places where they teach stuff there. That happened after the ayahuasca though. But
you were taking classes while you were traveling?
Also, I took Spanish classes too. I was in a Spanish school for 3 months in Ecuador, and then 5 months in Bolivia, and then I did a 3-month course with these occult people.
But how did you even know what you were going to do? You just rolled up into town and then found a hostel or what?
Youth hostels, yeah.
Okay.
I stayed at youth hostels everywhere I went because I couldn't afford a hotel.
Okay. And then when you were there, you made connections and figured out where you could go study and do stuff.
Oh, yeah. And that's the awesome thing about youth hostels. You know, it's on the wall. You walk in and it's on the wall. You want to do this or you want to do that? Call this person, call that. It's like, so it's very easy. Especially language schools, it's easy to find those. I mean, yeah.
But the majority of the people in hostels are foreigners. They're not locals.
Yeah.
So you would just rely on like the poster board or whatever to find something that was local that you could go do.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously you never had any idea how long you were going to stay in each place. You just kind of, if you liked it, you stayed longer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's it. There wasn't a plan except for just to get down to the south of South America to Ushuaia. I met a Korean girl in Ecuador at the Spanish school, and we ended up traveling together for about 8 months. And I promised her some marriage and stuff, and so she followed me all over the place. And my old tricks. And when it was time to separate, she was like, "You said you were going to marry me." I was like, "Wow." And you believe that? Well, so she's still a good friend. I visited her in Korea afterwards. So where are we at? So I went to Colombia and then Ecuador, and then I went down the coast of Peru and skipped all the major tourist things like Machu Picchu and Colca Canyon.
Didn't you want to see it though?
Well, I did on the way back up.
Okay.
So, and entered into Chile and went all the way down Chile and then crossed into Argentina and then went all the way down Argentina. and then finally reached my destination at the south. That whole thing took 6 months to get down there because I was in Ecuador, Colombia for 2 months, Ecuador for 3 months. I had long stays in those two countries because I like those countries.
It didn't at any point you ever just be like, fuck it, I'm just going to live here now?
Yes. In Peru, on the way back up, because I went all the way down and then all the way back up to Portland. So when I was in Santiago de Chile, in the capital of Chile, which is a really nice European-style country, you don't even know that you're in South America. Actually, it's very, very modern and stuff. And I met this guy from Canada, this really cool dude. He was telling the whole group in the hostel one day about his experience tripping on ayahuasca with this shaman, And he's like, I was flying through the solar system. I'm looking at the planets and stuff. And I was just like, what? We don't have this shit in Portland. I got to try this. And, in all honesty, my intention in going to the shaman was just a trip, So he gave me the information for this guy named Percy Garcia Lozano, and a truly authentic shaman and great soul. And so I cruised back on up into Peru. My mom came down, met me in Peru, and we went to see Machu Picchu, and we went to see all these other tourist places. And then we got on a boat, and this huge, it must have been like 150-foot boat, and with about 200 or 300 people on the boat, mostly women and children. And it's 5 days down the Amazon River, to a place that has no roads. So you can fly or you can take a boat. And typically the locals, the men will fly, and they'll send the women with the children on the boat because they can't pay for a whole bunch of plane tickets, because of the children. And since you're the one that gave birth to them, you got to take the boat with the children, So we're here with those kids are screaming and crying and stuff, We ended up moving to the top of the boat where the cargo was, and it was empty, and it was a beautiful experience. My mom and I, we had 2 hammocks. We're just swinging up on this, going through the Amazon, and it took us 5 days to get to our destination where the shaman lived, to his little camp. Did I miss something?
No.
You're there?
Keep
okay.
on.
So we get to this place called Iquitos in the Peruvian Amazon. Amazon is huge, and Peru has a little bit of it. Ecuador has a little bit of it. Brazil has a lot of it. Colombia, it's just everywhere, Everybody has a part of the Amazon down there. And this place, Iquitos, is surrounded by water. There's no way you could build a road if you're like, if you want to spend that much money. I don't think that they can do that right now down there in Peru. It's just it takes 4 or 5 days to get there, unless you fly. In that case, it takes like half an hour or something, 45 minutes. I don't know, but we thought it would be cool to. I want my mom to really experience what better way to experience the Amazon than to float down the Amazon on a boat, The boat was kind of its own little town on the boat. They had like this kitchen area, they had like the prostitutes area, but they were really guys that were dressed with dresses. We saw this tall, skinny 60-year-old Dutch guy come by, and he was like, "Hey, you come with me." And goes into this private room, and they come back out, and they're like, it's really dirty.
Prostitutes on the boat.
Yes, sir.
And they were dudes.
Yep.
And people thought they were girls?
No. I think everybody knew.
Everybody knew,
yeah.
But
yeah,
that sounds so weird.
Yeah, it's really like
they're like, well, we got some tourists on the boat. Let's get some prostitutes. But we don't have girls, so let's get dudes.
Yeah, well, that's...
Or you think that people wanted dudes?
I think that they've been doing it for a long time on those boats, and I think that Europeans and Americans, they know about this, and these guys have been coming back here for years and years just so that they can get their ladyboys.
That's so weird.
There's ladyboy porn, right? So, there's a demand somewhere. I don't know. I'm not going to admit to anything myself, but somebody likes it.
So the goal, though, is to get to this destination to meet up with the shaman. All these people on the boat are going there to see the shaman and do ayahuasca.
No, they're all going to Iquitos. They live there. It's a city in the jungle. Okay. It's like the size of Gresham. It's a pretty big town. You know, there's like 400,000 people there probably.
Huh. But like you said, the only way to get there is through the boat unless you fly. But
not
many
the
people
locals
fly.
don't do that. No, that's a luxury. You know.
So why is this dude hanging out in the forest to give people ayahuasca?
So he's doing that because his father did it and his grandfather did it. It's passed on, and you're not allowed to say no. You have to do it, and if you don't, then the spirits will destroy your life.
Oh wow!
So he committed himself to it at one point, and some guy from Poland or something, a lady from Poland came over and made a documentary, and then like people just started coming like all the time and stuff. So then he made a big investment. Now he has this really nice camp with a temple and everything, and there's this really big ceremony temple, and then like the baptism pool, I guess you could call it, because he has to like cleanse you with actual water in the Amazon before you do the ceremony.
It's like getting baptized.
Yeah, it's similar to getting baptized. Yeah.
So they grow. I don't even know. How do you get ayahuasca?
Ayahuasca, there's a vine that grows wild in the Amazon, and you look for it. And
so they harvest it themselves, turn it into juice, and then...
And they mix it. They mix it with 11 other plants. And they make this tea with it. And it's a medium that allows them to communicate with spirits, gods, beings.
I did it in March.
Whatever you want to call
time.
It. Really?
Yeah, I did. Here in Portland.
You didn't mention that.
It is.
Here in Portland with no shaman.
With no shaman.
What was it like?
It was incredible.
It was. So you had a positive experience.
I got a video I'll send to you after this.
Cool.
It was very positive.
If you would like, you can come down for a few days. I'll be there for a month. You can come and check it out.
That's where you're going to go directly after this.
I am, and I'll be sober also. I won't be like this.
So when you went there, you had never done it before. Had you done psychedelics before?
Yeah. I've done mushrooms and LSD.
Okay. But you knew it was going to be different, right?
I had read in a National Geographic article, this journalist told his story about his experience with ayahuasca and how he threw up a little black snake in his bucket. And it was in National Geographic's about 20 years ago. And that's the only time I had ever heard of it. Uh-huh. And then when that guy in Santiago de Chile said, I went to the Amazon, I did ayahuasca, I was like, no way. I just remembered. All I knew was that you trip and that people think that their hallucinations are real. And I'm a tripper, so we go to the camp. Shall I continue?
Yeah, go.
We go to the camp, and my mom is with me. And this guy, Al, from Australia, who I'm trying to get to go down there with me right now, and a few other people. And we're laying down on our backs in a circle. The shaman is doing his thing. He's got the drum, and he's doing the... Did
you have to pay this guy?
Yes.
How much did you pay him?
It was pretty cheap, actually. Nowadays, because he actually has recently... I paid like $100, I think it was.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
Per ceremony.
Okay.
So, but I ended up staying there for a while, so the price went down. But you can go with the shaman that does it for free if you like. In Iquitos, there's a million shamans. As soon as you get off the airplane, people are like, come to my house. I am shaman. I'll give you ayahuasca. You know, they're everywhere. And you're like, no, I'm not into that. He's like, cocaine. It's like, you're not a real shaman, are you? Hard times.
Entrepreneur.
Yeah. So the first ceremony, first of all, they tell you to do this diet. Did you read about that?
I've read some things, yeah.
Okay, so you're supposed to do this diet that, you're supposed to abstain from all these different stuff. I didn't do that at all. And you're not supposed to have sex or anything. I broke all the rules. Like, after the ceremony, I just got on the bus and went back to the city and partied and just came back and did another ceremony the next day while people are like in their little huts, like meditating, trying to like, I didn't need that apparently because everybody that was there just didn't really get that powerful of an experience. They did the diets, they did all this stuff, and I didn't. I think if there's something that you need, you're going to get it.
Yeah.
If you don't need something, then you're probably not going to, maybe you're not going to get it, you know? So I'm sitting there, I'm laying there on my back, and my mom's over here, and Al from Australia's over here. And we take the drink, you know, it's one at a time. You come up to the shaman, he gives you the drink. It tastes like shampoo. It's so difficult to swallow for me, especially after the 30th time. It's just like, why am I doing this? I haven't seen aliens in weeks. Where are they? You know, I'm still drinking. So it's not addictive. It's disgusting, actually. It's a wretched flavor of. I feel like I'm drinking shampoo. Anyways, so we drink it and then we lay back down. And there's little buckets next to every little mattress that we're laying on, you know. And I'm laying there, and suddenly I got a shit. And I was up, and I was like, oh. And Al goes, oh, Shane feels something. Because everyone's like, are we going to feel anything? What's happening? Do you feel something? Do you feel something? You know? And I was like, oh, I feel something. So I go rushing into the toilets. And I sit down on the toilet, and I proceed to do the most glorious shit of my life. It was so amazing. And I never experienced that. I was just like, I couldn't stop pooping. I didn't even know where it came from. It just kept going. It just kept going. And I was just like, there's more. Oh my God.
It feels so
this
good.
This is amazing. And I was just loving it, you know?
Yeah.
So I go, finally, I'm trying to clean myself, but you know, you're seeing things and I can't tell if is there poop all over me? I can't even tell. I'm covered in shit. So I go back out and I lay down, and that's right when I shit is when like all the visual stuff starts happening.
Yeah.
So I lay down and I'm laying there, and Al goes like, you guys see that up there? I said, see what? It's just like the ceiling of the temple, the bamboo structure. And he goes, oh, they're here, man. They're here. You know, I was like, about 10 minutes later or so, suddenly I look around me and they're gone. Al's gone, my mom's gone, and I have no idea I'm hallucinating. I'm thinking that what I'm experiencing is real, and I can't move my body. I can't move it at all, and it frightens me. It frightens me a little bit because, you know, will I ever be able to move my body again? Is this permanent? You know, and so suddenly these two giant-headed, like alien-looking, like you see the classic, the Greys, yes,
Yeah.
those guys. Two of them come walking over, and they've got some stuff that they're looking at on the side over here. I don't know what that is. I can't even see it, but they're like doing something, and they're reaching inside my body, like reaching in. And I said, what are you doing? And I'm not talking. I'm talking without my mouth moving, and they're talking back to me. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, we're like the doctors. And I was like, suddenly I just felt really peaceful and happy. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's fine, you know. So I'm laying there, and suddenly I reappear. It's just like a 30 seconds. Suddenly I reappear back in the temple, and Al is outside, naked. He's not even in the temple. My mom's laying there, and she's like, colors, you know. And there's Alice outside, butt naked, going, take me, I'm ready. He wants to go with the aliens. Uh-huh. And he was already into that stuff, kind of, you know. And so I was like, Mom, like, did you see, was I here just a second ago? You know, I'm trying to rationalize. I'm telling myself, I just took ayahuasca. Obviously, I'm hallucinating. But there's a part of you that's telling you that you're not hallucinating, mm-hmm. right? And the unique thing about ayahuasca is group hallucinations. Have you heard about this?
I haven't heard it with ayahuasca, but I've heard it with, I was talking to somebody about group dreaming.
Oh.
I forget what it's called, but when you share a dream with someone, which I've never experienced before, but yeah, I mean, you put 10 people in a tent and they're all frying on ayahuasca, there's a strong potential that something's going to happen together.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the strange thing, though, is that these lights came down. They're like not perfectly white, but they're just a little bit like they're kind of almost yellow. They're orbs. We called them orbs because they were globes that were transparent, but they had light in them.
Mm-hmm.
And I sound like I'm trying to describe something from like some tribal guy from 2,000 years ago trying to describe a plane. Like, it was shiny, it had wings. So I'm seeing this orb, and we're all seeing the orb. They come down around the temple. My mom and Al and me and Shelly, this other lady from Wisconsin. We keep asking, you see that, right? We keep verifying that we're seeing. Are you guys seeing it? You sure you're seeing this? You know, and like, oh yeah, we're seeing it. You know, we're there for a few hours, and the ceremony is over, and we go back to my hut because it was the biggest, and we can fit everybody in it. And the shaman went to sleep, and we're hanging out there, and we're not even like seeing visual stuff anymore. Like the powerful hallucination part of it has passed, but the orbs are still there. So somebody listening to this story might say, okay, so the hallucination part wasn't over, but these orbs, I don't think that they were a part of the hallucination. I can't explain what they were. They kept coming down, but they wouldn't let us get close enough to reach them. You know, they stayed just 15 feet away from us, and wherever they were always just far away. And we took a picture. We got me and Shelly and Alan took a picture with the orb floating right above, about 15 feet back behind us. There was 100 of them, and we just took a picture of that one. And
did it show up in the photo?
It sure did, and it was on my Facebook until I deleted that bitch. And I don't have another copy of it, unfortunately. But you just have to take my word, just like all the other UFO experiences people have. Yeah. So,
did the shaman drink with you guys?
Yeah, he does it every time. Yeah, he does.
Every time.
He does, which is why he has blind children and children with no limbs and stuff.
Yeah, man, you can't do it every time.
Well, that's their tradition. So I didn't realize what was happening, but I was just blown away. I mean, it was just like all of the fear and anxiety and all of that was gone. Because when I was traveling around South America for that 2 years, I was like, what's my SOP? Standard operating procedure. I was like, all right, if somebody does this or somebody does that, I do this, okay? I had like all these plans and stuff, to prevent, another drug cartel abduction from happening, And so so the whole time I'm in South America, I'm just like, all right, when you get into a taxi, if he goes the wrong way, make him stop immediately so he doesn't take you to sell you to somebody, and so they can hold you for ransom. And that's Colombia. I was in Colombia, so that was a good idea. So I had all these, but that's just like, it was just kind of like gone for, at least in that moment, during those days. And I decided I wanted to stay. I told the shaman, I was like, can I stay here for 6 months? And he was like, I was like, okay.
He's like, how much money you got?
Yeah, so I had to pay, but we did a little exchange. I ended up being his interpreter for a while. So
how many times did you do it?
I did it about 30 times.
30 times.
Maybe a little bit more than 30 times, yeah. And I didn't want to leave. So it was just incredible, the changes that I had. For a solid 6-month period of my life, I didn't have any symptoms of PTSD or any kind of like nightmares, or I was just a positive person. I was social. I would hang out. I'm kind of a hermit, actually. Yeah, I would never do something like that. I just did this because I do it, whatever Jesse thinks. Oh, it's cool. I love that guy.
I do too.
Bessie Gyron. So, but then eventually it wore off, and I felt like, oh man, I'm gonna have to do another trip. But I was on the other side of the world by then, so it doesn't. You kind of have to. I think you have to keep doing it. I don't know, but from that point on, it changed. It changed the trajectory of my life. it's just immensely. I can't explain. Like suddenly I was just like, oh my gosh, I want to know everything. I started getting into whatever spiritual tradition it was. I would learn that. I went to Colombia next. I went back to Colombia again, and I stayed there for 8 months. And while I was there, I was just digging into like energy healing, Reiki, tarot card reading. I tried everything. I tried levitation. I tried communicating with the dead. I tried every different kind of crazy thing that you can imagine. I tried because I suddenly believed for the first time in my life that there was something else out there, apart from this material existence. I suddenly had this, like, it opened up a part of my brain where I suddenly had like an interest in being spiritual, a part of my humanity that I had crushed during those years of living such a risky life and being violent and crazy and stuff, and doing drugs. And
So were you sober at that time?
While I was in South America,
Yeah.
for that 2-year period,
Yeah. Besides ayahuasca.
most of the time,
Yeah.
80% of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because my question was, weren't you ever scared if you were doing drugs?
You count weed?
No.
Okay.
I just mean, like, if you're in a foreign country.
Then I was sober the whole time, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems scary to do anything. Like, look at that basketball player who had CBD in Russia.
Yeah.
And now she's going to prison for
9
9
years,
years.
yeah.
Shit's terrifying.
It's her fault. I warned my friends too. I tell my friend Carl when he had to pass through China to get to Nepal, and I was like, dude, do not bring fucking weed in your bag no matter what you do.
Don't bring Advil. Don't take anything.
He's the type that would be like, try it anyways. But
Yeah, I have some friends that are going to Singapore, and you can't even take gum into Singapore.
oh, really?
Yeah. They supposedly have a garbage can right when you get off the flight, and it's like, put your drugs, your alcohol, your gum, whatever else is illegal.
Yeah.
Like, throw it here. As soon as you pass this checkpoint.
Have you been there?
I haven't been there, no.
In my opinion, it's the most overrated city in the world.
Oh, so you've been there.
I have.
Okay. Did you take gum?
Did I tell you I hadn't?
No,
Oh,
I'm
no.
talking to you like you haven't been there.
No,
but
I
you have.
definitely been there. I didn't try to take gum. I had heard like the streets are so clean. Like if you spit, you get a ticket. They're not that clean.
Yeah.
They're just as clean as any other modern. It's a developed country.
You were
okay?
going to say Portland, and you changed your mind.
I was, yeah. I could have said that 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's not clean
But
right
no,
now.
it's not clean anymore.
No.
Oh, unfortunately. So Singapore is just that's later in the story. But so
So you made it up to Colombia.
that's right. I'm back to Colombia, and I'm also dating this French Canadian girl, and she's also really spiritual, and so we're like feeding off of each other, having this really crazy spiritual experience and stuff. And I was also taking tattoo classes, so I was learning how to tattoo and tattoo people and stuff. And so, and then I was taking an art class, I was taking a painting class, a drawing class, and tattooing class. That was my thing for 8 months there.
And so all the while, you're still getting checks deposited. You just had some bank account that you could access somehow?
Yes, but at the time I was in my debit card.
Yeah.
They just wire it. It goes directly from the treasury to my bank in USA Bank, and then I just put the credit card in the ATM.
Well, yeah, and you were rich as fuck if you're in South America.
No, not really. Unfortunately, $2,000 isn't really. You got to pay for hotels and food, and I mean, I don't think rich people feel rich. Probably, maybe. I think I was just thinking about my Colombian friends that I met there. They probably did think that I was wealthy, but for an American, it's just like, yeah. While I was in Colombia, I was also writing essays online, and I was making about. It depended on how much I would write, but I could make $1,000 a month doing that. So I was writing essays, 123teachme.com, for students all over the world. Unethical, I realize, but who gives a shit?
What were the essays about?
Anything.
Why was anybody paying you $1,000?
No. Not for the essay. I mean, it would be like $50 for an essay, $200 for an essay. It depends how long it is.
Whoa. These are like college kids are like, I don't want to do my homework. Will you do it for me?
I was saying $1,000 a month I could make. In 1 month.
I'm trying to understand what it is, though. What is the writing?
It is. There's several websites online where you can do a student's homework for them, and you get paid to do it.
Whoa.
Yeah, I did that for a couple of years actually, until I was studying again in Kathmandu.
I guess I don't know why I never thought that would be a thing, but that seems like it could be very lucrative.
It can be. And so you have a profile and you show the areas, mine is liberal arts, history and political science and all those areas. I can write about that. And once you do a lot of them, it's like, it's really easy.
What's the website or the connection you made?
Thesis statement, supporting arguments, conclusions. It's like 1, 2, 3, teach me.
1, 2, 3, teach me?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, I can send you a link.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I'll send that to you. It's they get a portion, they get a percentage, obviously, because they got to make money. But sometimes you get a really good one, like a 10-pager. It's like student is British, money, right? So I got $700 one time. I just popped out this. I just mumbled 10 pages. And sent it in.
Throw in a few British slang words here and there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's legit.
Yeah,
looks
just
good."
Make your Z's S's, and it's not too
Bangers and
bad.
mash. Oh yeah.
And they can edit it too, so they can change whatever they want.
That's cool. Okay, so you're in Colombia. You're making money.
Yeah,
taking art classes.
Making money, taking art classes, and I'm trying to fit my brain into this new spiritual mind that I just acquired while I was with the shaman. Okay, and this effect was so powerful. The girl, this Anik Schwinar, I will find you, broke my heart, and went back to Canada, and so I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do something really cool. I want to do something. I want to build on this new state of mind that I have that I gained from the shaman. So I went online and I started looking at where I can study Buddhism, but not in a gompa. Or sorry, that's Tibetan language. Not in a temple, but academically is what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be like a monk. I didn't want to shave my head and wear the robes and not be allowed to. So I ended up in Thailand. I flew to Thailand from Colombia. I went to Portland, actually. I went to Portland, visited my parents for a month. Then I went to Thailand, and I found this guy named Jet Li.
Oh, yeah, I know him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He's a Reiki master. And he gave me Reiki classes for 2 months. I think it was almost 2 months. So I'm a certified Reiki guy. But
okay, so explain that, because I have a friend who also does that.
Yeah. It's not real, in my opinion.
You don't think so?
No, I don't. So I trained with him for a while, and then he...
What do you do, though? What is the basis? What is the background? What is the foundation?
Okay. It's based on Indian philosophy and medical terminologies and stuff. So it has Hindu background. And basically they're following these chakras that are aligned with the meridian system, which is actually Chinese, I think. But the chakras, the main chakras, there's 7 of them. There's one on your head, there's one right here, there's one here, and there's there, and then, yeah. The only one I can remember is the Muladhara, which is the one between your balls and your rectum. It's right up in there, and it's the red one. It's the grounding chakra that's supposed to ground you. It's really important to ground yourself before you do anything else, before you work on any other chakras. And so their goal is to keep the chakras flowing. People use different words, and everybody, has a different way of explaining it. But Reiki practitioners are supposed to open up all those chakras so that they're operating, so that they're functioning properly, so that you experience your spiritual humanity in a proper way. So when they're doing it, what they're doing is when they place their hands above a certain part of your body, those are chakras underneath their hands. They're they're trying to open those
with energy. It's all energy, right?
With energy.
Yeah.
So it's not fair to say that it's not real. Maybe it's real. I don't know. But in my experience, I didn't experience that. I didn't think in the end, it didn't seem like I was doing anything at all.
You're hanging out with Jet Li in Thailand, and he's teaching you this, and you're like, nah, fuck this. It's
no, I was believing it and into it really with him at the time. And after the course, he asked if I wanted to go heal somebody for reals who has
cancer,
a knee problem, cancer.
Like, here you go, bud.
I was just trying to, yeah. Wish I could. So he sent me to this 60-year-old martial artist's house in Burma, which is another country. It's now called Myanmar, on Aung San Suu Kyi's country. It borders Thailand. So I got on a plane, and I go over to this lady's house, and it's in Yongzone. That's what it's called, Yongzone. It's the southern. It used to be the capital. It's close to the water. It's close to the sea, the beach, and not the most comfortable place. People are really smart there, and they're just really awesome people. I'm sorry that they have to live there, but so I start working on this lady, and I start with like a little. Let's just go through the. This is all happening because of ayahuasca. Just keep that in mind. I would have never did this shit if I didn't drink ayahuasca. Ayahuasca did all of this. So now I'm in Burma, and I'm trying to open these chakras. And, I did everything that he did, which is make them comfortable, play some, some chanting music and just, and be quiet. You got to have the environment has to be set up kind of nice. If you have candles or incense, you can do that. So, and I run through just like a little introductory session, and then I come back and for another one, but this one's the serious one. I was like, this is your day, ma'am. After this, if this shit works, your knees are going to be good and I'm getting the fuck out of here. And she reported afterwards that there wasn't really any change. So I was like, okay, cool.
So you got a bad Yelp review.
I did. She was like, hey, that's
not cool.
She goes, yeah, my knee still hurts. Because you can tell that her knees hurt, actually, because when she's walking up a stairs or something, she has like a thing wrapped around it. She's like, yeah, I need surgery for my knees. And I was like, when I first saw her, I was like, oh, God, I don't know. I don't think this is going to work. I don't think I can heal this person. So I ended up staying with her at her house she's a female 60-year-old martial artist from Burma. And she's actually quite famous there because she's one of the only female instructors in the Banda tradition where they use like swords and stuff.
Well, no offense. Why are they sending new guy, white guy from Portland, Oregon when they could send Jet Li? Why isn't Jet Li doing it?
That's a question for Jet Li. I mean, he's probably trying to rake in the dough over there in his studio. He's
shooting movies with Jackie Chan.
Just milking that Google, getting all those foreigners coming in and paying them $2,000 for their certificate.
If I were that 60-year-old martial artist, I'd be like, no, fucking send him.
Well, she could just go to him too, but...
Okay, so you go back for the second round. It doesn't work out. She says that you didn't quite heal it.
But that's what he does, though. He likes to send people. He has disciples. So, so we do several sessions, and by 3 weeks, we've done, I think, 10 sessions or something, and I'm really believing in it. I'm not giving up yet, and I'm telling her, I was like, listen, we got to do something different. I think you're not getting like the elements, and I can't remember what the hell I was thinking at the time, but I figured, well, if we can go to the beach, and we can swim in the ocean, and I can bury you in the sand. Then maybe, and then I'll do Reiki on you right there at the beach. Then maybe,
sounds like a date.
I don't know why. I don't know why that would change something. But at the time, I was trying to I was mixing shamanism. Actually, that's what happened with Reiki. I was trying to like fuse them together, and so I was like trying to think of like the elements that would contribute to healing and stuff. And so we went like 4 hours down to this resort area where the public are allowed to, the military controls everything in that country. So, where they're allowed to be in the beach. So we go there, and right away it's really awkward because here's us. I'm walking down the beach with this old lady. We're like dressed to go swimming, and there's a whole bunch of like Muslim-looking dudes like staring at us like, what is he doing with that woman on the beach? You know, it's like this white guy from this Westerner. It's like, it doesn't make sense to them. So everyone's just like all eyes on us. So I bury her. We go swim in the ocean and I bury her in the sand. People are just like,
what the fuck is
this little girl comes running over and I'm like, what is she doing? And then she just like skids to a stop and pops up this camera and goes, click. And then takes off running back to her parents. Doesn't even say hello or anything. And I was like, okay, have a nice day. You know, so, and then that didn't work either. So, and you know, eventually that didn't heal her knees either. So
what did you talk about in the car for 4 hours?
She likes to talk about martial arts.
That's a long drive, man.
And I like to talk about, like, when I'm in Burma, Myanmar, or when I was that one time, I really enjoyed talking to the younger people, like in their 20s, that were in the universities, because they're really, really smart. Like their political IQ in that country, you can't tell. When you land in the plane, it's like, Tijuana, get the fuck out of here. But it's not like the people are like super aware of what's going on, you know, recently, like the military like took over again and the people just like broke out into a civil war and stuff. So, and they're smart and they're brave and they're really cool. So, and also Myanmar has one of the most incredible places that makes like the Giza Plateau in Egypt look like some kid's little toy. Okay. It's called Bagan, Bagan, Bagan. And it is a place where over the course of 1,000 years, several different kings and people built pyramid-style temples to their whatevers, and it's along this river. And there's like 100 of them. It's just crazy. And it's like 100 square miles maybe. It just takes up this massive part of the center of the country. And when you go there, it's like empty. I rented a bicycle and I was riding this bike, and I found a temple with a giant Buddha, 30 feet tall Buddha, in this position, which I can't remember what this teaching position, right? And he's sitting like this. His hands are so huge. I just said, fuck it. I went back to my hostel. I got my backpack and I rode back out there with some food. And I climbed up there and I slept in that giant Buddha's hands overnight. And I stayed there actually for a few days for free. And there's nobody there. It's empty, you know? And you're just way out there on these dirt roads and there's not a soul.
They built
beautiful.
A massive Buddha out of
rocks.
And nobody's there to appreciate it. It's out there.
Yeah, they had an earthquake last year too, so a lot of that was damaged. Bagan. Incredible. And I would have never known about it. And if you ask anybody, like a lot of people, they've never heard of it. People need to hear about this place. It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. A part of the appeal was it being empty. I was going to say emptiness, which is a Buddhist teaching. Like it's like there's just nobody there. There's the one main street and there's some people there. It's not a lot. There's not like hotels everywhere. It's this unknown place. Like people know, but there's not a lot of tourists coming. At least when I was there wasn't. Who knows? Maybe there is. But when I was there, it was empty.
Well,
and it's just incredible.
It seems like the majority of people who are interested in being tourists are going to places either for like a photo or because it has some sort of like cultural significance, or it just seems like that place is not going to be populated with tourists because everybody there is just so minimal. It seems like nobody has anything on purpose because why would you need a bunch of possessions? Why do you need a car? Why do you need a bike? Why do you need 1,000 shirts in your closet? It seems like everybody's just really simple. Is that true?
Yeah, of course. Most countries are like that.
But I mean, some of them are like that because they're poor. It seems like Tibet.
Poor according to our standards, our definition of poverty.
Yeah.
You know, because, yes, they're simple. Where my home is now, the people there are very simple. They have a phone and like a couple different pairs of clothes, you know. You know, but they own their land. The bank doesn't own it. They own their house. They built it themselves. The bank doesn't own it. They don't have to pay bills for that shit. The water comes out of the mountain for free.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, poverty, see, in the big cities, people, even in Burma, you can see like these kids are coming into the cities, you know, and they want to have a whole bunch of stuff, you know, they want to have an excessive amount of shit. You know, it's just a human thing, I think. I mean, I don't know. Poverty, I guess. You know, what is poverty? What is is there like a $1,000 a year? Is that how they define it? And...
I mean, I don't know how they define it, but it has to fluctuate based on which country you live in. Because poverty in America is less than $20,000. If you had $20,000 in fucking Nigeria, you would be okay.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great, because Nigeria, they might be lucky to make $100 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it just depends on where you're at. But I guess you would define it as whether or not you can have a house or like shelter, enough food and clothing, right? If you can do those things, then you're probably okay. I mean, it seems like there's so many people in the world that they don't even have clean water. They don't have a toilet. They don't have food. They maybe wear the same shoes for 5 years or something, you know? Like, there's different levels.
No toilet, yeah. There's a lot I guess there are a lot of places like that in Africa, I hear. I haven't been to Africa, but I have been to places in India like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they like designate like this area will poop in. You know, it's like, and I've walked through that on accident before. I'm like, why is there shit everywhere? The guy's like, oh, that's where everybody shits. It's like, oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
It's funny because they the same location, they gave like $100 million to the refugees from Burma, and there's no toilets there for the city, for the people that are from there, but their taxes went to these other people. That's southern India. That was Puri, Puri, Puri is what it's called. And I got a hotel. I got my swimsuit on. I go running out to the beach. I go swimming, and I'm thinking, so this is the beach in India. And I look up, and this guy's shitting. I'm like, huh? And he's timing it just right. So when the water comes up, it'll grab his poop, and his poop just go down into the ocean. Right?
Where you're swimming.
Right. And so I'm like, wait a minute. The air smells like shit too. So I come up out of the beach, and I go for a little beach walk. And for that whole half a mile that I walked, it was just one guy after another just taking shits into the beach that I just went swimming into. And so the guy at the hotel goes, that's where everybody shits. It's like, great.
You don't say.
You should put that in the ad, you know. I found you on Google. You're getting a review for sure for this one. You know?
Wow.
He said enjoy the beach too.
Wow.
He said that before I went swimming. He said enjoy the beach.
Maybe he meant take a shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, I hate to do it right here, but I feel like you're going to have to come back.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so you're going to go...
I'm going to come back in a whole different state of mind.
Dude,
so I'm
also...
going to go back to the Amazon tomorrow after not having been there for 10 years. And I'm going to do ayahuasca again.
Yeah, and you said you'll come back in a month. I don't know if you're going to come back in a month.
Well, I hope so because I bought a plane ticket. I bought...
Oh, you bought a round trip?
With a credit card. My very first class trip, round trip, first class all the way down there. It's my first time, so I'm looking forward to the flight back.
Okay, well, come back in a month then, and we'll keep going because I think we got another hour and 47 minutes at least.
Cool.
Cool?
Yeah.
All right.